This planet is hiding secrets crazier than you think. We are talking about places that defy gravity, mock logic, and exist against all laws of nature. From ancient temples clinging to vertical cliffs, to islands that look like they belong on Mars. This isn't CGI. These are the most extreme and isolated corners mankind has ever conquered. Think you've seen it all? Just wait until you see the final spot on this list. Welcome to the impossible places. White Pocket is a remote geological area within the Paria Canyon-Vermilion Cliffs region of northern Arizona, United States. Known worldwide for its white gypsum rock waves interlaced with red and orange banding. The terrain features tightly folded wave-like rock forms with curvature radii exceeding 30 feet, making the layered surfaces appear like frozen sand waves suspended in motion. Indigenous peoples once passed through this landscape without permanent construction, leaving behind stone alignments and hunting traces that indicate human presence thousands of years ago. White Pocket has been classified by field geologists as a uniquely rare landform, often mistaken for volcanic or collapse-related terrain, despite being shaped by entirely different geological processes. The site contains natural wind pockets, oval-shaped cavities, carved by rotating airflow that eroded the rock along longitudinal axes, a phenomenon uncommon across most North American desert landscapes. Each visible rock layer here records hundreds of millions of years of geological history, confronting visitors with a scale of natural time that is difficult for the human mind to fully grasp. Dodap Fort is an ancient fort set atop a mesa-shaped basalt mountain rising to about 4,800 feet above sea level, where sheer cliffs on three sides make the structure feel more like a natural fortress than a man-made one. The basalt layers here display vertical column formations created by cooling contraction, forming natural crack lines that resemble defensive walls, revealing that geology provided the primary foundation, while architecture merely reinforced it. Dodap is one of the rare historic forts with a naturally flat summit, requiring little leveling, showing that this location was a fortress even before any fort was built. As sunset arrives, light turns the entire summit into a bronze-colored plain, as if the landscape itself is preserving the memory of a vanished era, allowing those standing there to see the present while physically occupying history. KP Waterfall, also known as KP Falls, is a hidden waterfall near Khopoli in the state of Maharashtra in western India, distinguished by powerful water cascading directly beneath an active railway bridge, creating a rare convergence of raw nature and modern engineering. The Khopoli area and its surroundings historically served as a vital trade corridor and railway link connecting Mumbai and Pune since the 19th century, giving the bridge above the waterfall historical significance tied to early infrastructure development. Unlike many tourist destinations in India, KP Waterfall has not been heavily commercialized, preserving its historical rawness and original natural environment without dense tourism infrastructure. When a train passes over the bridge above the falls, the crashing water surges upward into an arch shaped by the motion of the train, producing a visual effect that is rare and nearly impossible to replicate elsewhere. Because the site remains relatively untouched and little known, many first-time visitors describe the sensation as discovering a hidden place not yet widely shared, adding a sense of privacy and unexpected depth to the experience. Kandinsky Bridge is an extremely dangerous road bridge spanning the Vitim River in the Trans-Baikal region of Siberia, Russia, known worldwide as one of the most nerve-stressing bridges to cross due to its crude design and severe deterioration after decades without official maintenance. The bridge is approximately 570 meters long, but only slightly more than 2 meters wide, with no guardrails at all, and a deck made largely of rotting wooden planks laid over an aging metal frame, creating a fragile and high-risk crossing environment. Even highly experienced drivers must maintain absolute concentration when crossing, especially during icy seasons when the surface becomes slick and strong. Crosswinds strike continuously, forcing drivers to rely on instinct and survival-level vehicle control. Despite being regarded as one of the most dangerous bridges on the planet, there are no official records of fatal accidents here, partly due to the extreme caution exercised by those who attempt to cross. This reality reflects that those who successfully cross Kandinsky Bridge are typically highly skilled and intensely vigilant drivers, turning each crossing into a survival challenge rather than an ordinary journey. Los Caracoles is located in the central Andes along the international route linking the Santiago metropolitan region with the Mendoza Plains across the border, forming a high mountain corridor where terrain, climate, and elevation all reach extreme limits. The average gradient of this section is unusually steep for a national highway, making the sequence of 29 switchbacks a necessary engineering solution to break the elevation gain, without which heavy trucks would be unable to pass. This critical ascent forms part of Ruta 60CH, a route prioritized by the Chilean state for its strategic role in cross-border trade, and in linking Pacific ports with the interior of South America. Although often ranked among the most dangerous roads in the world, it remains one of the busiest Trans-Andes routes, carrying continuous flows of cargo trucks and container traffic throughout the year. Every day, thousands of tons of goods move along this road between the Pacific Ocean and the South American interior, demonstrating that Los Caracoles is not only a test of driving skill, but also a vital economic artery for the entire region. Huashan Plank Walk is one of the most hazardous walking routes in the world, constructed by fastening narrow wooden planks directly into the sheer rock face of Mount Hua in China. These planks are anchored only a few dozen centimeters from the vertical cliff, with a drop of hundreds of meters below, forcing every step to balance constantly on an invisible line between stability and danger. The path runs along the northwestern slope of Mount Hua, where strong, high-altitude winds frequently sweep across the face, causing the narrow boards to vibrate slightly with each gust and making it feel as if the air itself is testing the walker's balance. From a distance, the walkway appears like a thin thread clinging to the cliff, yet once stepped onto, the vast open space and deep void below force the brain to work continuously to adapt to extreme exposure. Every step along the plank walk becomes a mental and physical trial, where wind, rock, empty space, and the sound of one's own heartbeat merge into a single, relentless test of balance and nerve. Mount Nyiragongo is an active volcano in the Virunga Range of Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, rising to about 11,385 feet above sea level and famous worldwide for hosting the largest active lava lake on Earth within its crater. The landscape here appears almost illogical by natural standards, with a vast black basalt crater torn open to reveal a red-hot lava lake that heaves like an ocean of fire, giving the impression of looking directly into the Earth's internal organs. In 2002, lava from Nyiragongo surged into the nearby city within only a few hours, burying streets and concrete and leaving behind one of the rare modern examples of an urban area reshaped by volcanic disaster. Sulfur dioxide concentrations near the crater rim can at times be strong enough to burn lung tissue after only a few deep breaths without specialized respiratory protection, underscoring the extreme nature of the local atmospheric environment. Summit camps are set directly on warm ash and volcanic rock, with heat rising from below throughout the night, keeping sleep shallow, as if the ground itself was still breathing and shifting. Standing on the rim of Nyiragongo, a person confronts surreal beauty and primal fear at the same moment, where the forces of creation and destruction lie separated by only a few steps. Montserrat is a sandstone and conglomerate mountain range in northeastern Spain, rising to about 4,055 feet above sea level, famous for geological forms resembling colossal stone columns carved by wind and water into rounded masses, sheer walls, and rugged towers that look like sculpture beyond human intent. The rock surface is unevenly textured, where countless small stone nodules are exposed sedimentary layers, giving the impression of deliberate carving, even though they are simply the result of geological pressure during formation. Ancient people believed the mountain's shape signified a connection between sky and earth, not through abstract belief, but because the terrain forces sound to resonate in dome-like patterns similar to a cathedral, as if nature itself had constructed a sacred acoustic space. Old stone paths show weir grooves deeper than 2 inches, a direct physical record of repeated pilgrim footsteps over generations, turning the landscape into a historical document without written language. Some rock faces appear sharply cut, like marks left by saws, yet they are purely geological fracture planes formed by pressure, mimicking human action without any trace of tools. There are no long, natural straight lines to serve as visual anchors, as every direction bends or breaks, disrupting familiar spatial logic and forcing anyone within the landscape to relearn how the body senses orientation and distance. Calderas das Furnas lies within the Furnas Valley, a large volcanic caldera formed tens of thousands of years ago on São Miguel Island in the Azores, one of the most geothermally active regions in the Atlantic Ocean. The air around the fumaroles is often heavy with a strong sulfur scent, a direct sign of magma lying close to the surface and ongoing mineralization processes taking place just beneath the ground. Since the 19th century, the people of the Azores have harnessed the geothermal heat of furnace to cook cozido das furnas, burying pots of food in hot soil and creating a culinary tradition found nowhere else in the world. The wooden walkways and paths surrounding the calderas are the result of long-term efforts to make a complex geothermal environment accessible and safe, while preserving the raw and original character of the landscape. This is one of the few places on Earth where visitors can observe active geothermal processes unfolding directly beside residential areas, creating a striking contrast between untamed nature and everyday human life. At Calderas das Furnas, the energy of the Earth does not remain hidden underground, but reveals itself at the surface, reminding us that nature is still operating, breathing, and transforming on a scale far beyond human control. Meteora is a complex of massive sandstone and conglomerate rock pillars in the Thessaly region of central Greece, where near-vertical formations rise up to about 1,300 feet from a flat plain, crowned by Eastern Orthodox monasteries that appear suspended in mid-air, defying conventional architectural logic. From the 11th century, hermits occupied the base of these cliffs for isolation, and by the 14th and 15th centuries, monasteries were built atop the pillars, transforming nearly inaccessible terrain into a form of spiritual defense where height replaced walls. Many pillar summits were not naturally flat, requiring minimal leveling and walls built directly along cliff edges, making geology an active component of the structure rather than a passive foundation, and emphasizing that architecture here was added to the landscape instead of imposed upon it. For centuries, the transport of materials and supplies relied on pulleys, ropes, and nets hauled from the valley floor, turning a vertical rise of more than 1,000 feet into a natural barrier without the need for fortifications or moats, a defensive system based on terrain rather than weaponry. Meteora is now recognized as a World Heritage Site, yet its core value lies not in individual buildings, but in the interaction between monastic structures and ancient rock masses, where faith chose to stand directly upon an extreme geological phenomenon rather than seek stable ground. At its essence, Meteora demonstrates a building philosophy that does not seek to conquer nature, but to exist within its constraints, converting sheer stone pillars into spaces of meditation, protection, and spiritual presence at the same time. Wae Rebo is a traditional village perched high in the tropical mountains of eastern Indonesia at an elevation of about 3,900 feet above sea level, existing as an isolated community enclosed by terrain and climate rather than walls or borders. The village is globally known for its 7 massive cone-shaped houses built from natural materials, with roofs that reach the ground and open like organic pyramids, arranged in a circular formation on a soft grassy clearing amid clouds, forming a social geometry unlike any modern village model. The architectural principle of stone below, wood in the middle, and leaves above mirrors natural plant structure rather than academic architectural rules, making the houses appear as if they grow from the earth instead of being imposed upon it. The central pillar, known as the backbone of the house, represents ancestors rather than a physical component, meaning any repair requires ritual permission, revealing a system where materials are maintained through spiritual responsibility before technical skill. The number 7 is not arbitrary, but a cultural mathematical structure symbolizing 7 clans, preserved across generations and serving as the village's identity, where the count of buildings defines community rather than population size. There are no ground-level windows, with light entering mainly from the roof peak and ventilation openings to create layered illumination descending from above, like an interior lit by the sky. And visitors must complete a 3 to 4 mile mountain trek to arrive, forcing the body to abandon urban speed before entering a cultural space operating on an entirely different rhythm. Diamond Beach was formed on a foundation of black basalt sand, a direct remnant of volcanic activity spanning thousands of years, where material cooled from deep within the earth became a surface that absorbs heat with high efficiency. Against this dark ground, ancient glacial ice fragments drift ashore, carrying sealed air bubbles trapped for hundreds to thousands of years, functioning like time samples preserved in solid form. The ice is distributed without any visible order, ranging from small shattered pieces to multi-ton blocks, reflecting the natural chaos of continuous melting and redistribution processes. The black sand absorbs most incoming light, turning each ice fragment into an isolated reflective object that reveals its internal structure, color variation, and density. When Atlantic waves strike the shore, ice blocks collide directly with one another, producing dry, heavy, hollow sounds unlike pebbles or rock, indicating that the material is not inert but ice in the process of structural collapse. The entire landscape exists in a temporary state, where ice can disappear completely within hours if wave energy increases and temperatures rise, causing the beach to be repeatedly formed and erased by the same natural cycle. Chernobyl is a nuclear exclusion zone in northern Ukraine that has become a global symbol of industrial catastrophe and the limits of human survival. The initial radiation release was equivalent to 400 times the Hiroshima atomic bomb, creating radiation hotspots exceeding 1,000 rem per hour, a dose capable of causing death within minutes. The pine forest surrounding the reactor turned from green to red within 96 hours as alpha particles destroyed plant cells, forming what became known as the Red Forest, now used as a benchmark for measuring ecological radiation damage. The RBMK reactor design is widely regarded as a nuclear-scale architectural failure, lacking the standard containment structure used in Western reactors. The air carries a faint metallic smell, similar to heated copper coins, caused by ionization interacting with the nasal lining. Some contaminated zones will require more than 20,000 years to return to natural safety levels, a time span longer than the lifespan of many human civilizations. Doubtful Sound emerges like an immense glacial water corridor, creating an isolated environment that immediately gives travelers a strong sense of complete separation from the outside world. Cliffs rising more than 3,300 feet push the entire view upward, erasing the horizon and producing the impression of entering a vertical geological fracture. This glacial corridor originated from ancient ice carving through rock before seawater filled the deep channel, reaching documented depths of more than 1,300 feet. Garibaldi Provincial Park unfolds as a vast blend of mountains, glaciers, and volcanic remnants where ancient lava structures rise beside deep glacial valleys. Tens of thousands of years of glacial movement and volcanic layering carved the ground into sharp, irregular cuts, unlike any familiar landscape. Several dark stone terraces reflect daylight with unusual clarity, creating the impression of natural metallic walls rising inside the forest. A deep layer of ancient volcanic ash still buried beneath the surface confirms a powerful eruption once covered the region, leaving traces that remain visible today. Serengeti expands into a living space so vast that familiar proportions collapse, while massive animal movements create one of Earth's rare natural forces. GPS research records antelope herds traveling nearly 2,000 miles each year, showing a level of endurance unmatched by most land animals. The plains formed on layers of ancient volcanic ash, creating mineral-rich soil that keeps the grassland nourished across shifting seasons. Researchers observed the compacted soil recovering within only a few weeks, revealing a regeneration capacity stronger than most large grassland ecosystems. Standing on the open plain, you can watch moving herds stretch toward the horizon, creating a direct visual experience no other landscape can reproduce. UNESCO reports confirm fossil-like surface marks emerging after heavy rains, exposing deep historical layers hidden beneath Serengeti's surface. Gros Morne National Park opens as a vast, ancient terrain where rising mountains, deep valleys, and glacier-carved stone create a striking sense of contrast. Rare oceanic crust and mantle rocks appear directly underfoot, giving visitors the feeling of standing on Earth's once hidden interior. More than 570 million years of tectonic collision pushed deep mantle layers upward, forming one of the most unusual geological structures in eastern Canada. Canyon D Chelly unfolds as an immense sandstone gorge where towering vertical walls stretch the sense of space beyond ordinary natural proportions. Layered red formations curl into steady wave-like patterns, turning the canyon walls into a visible record of shifting geological ages. Geological surveys confirm sandstone thickness over 900 feet, formed between 200 and 250 million years ago, remaining largely unchanged. Smooth walls display ancient markings matching no known writing system, leading researchers to consider the canyon a partially unresolved mystery. Nyiragongo volcano rises with an unreal force, defined by a lava lake nearly 750 feet deep, moving inside intense heat year-round. At night, its shifting surface sends red light into low clouds, producing a sky that seems opened by a primitive internal glow. The crater walls show layered formations shaped by thousands of eruptions, revealing the long thermal record preserved inside dark volcanic stone. Bisti Wilderness unfolds as an ancient stone expanse where exposed sediment layers create a silent terrain shaped by deep geological time. Its fractured ground, with sharp cuts and long channels stretches across the horizon, giving travelers the feeling of crossing a torn landscape. More than 70 million years ago, mud, sand, coal, and silt accumulated heavily here when the region stood beside a massive inland sea. Many dark red surfaces are stones heat-fired by underground coal burns, creating unusual colors rarely seen in other badlands. The arid climate and salt-rich thin soils prevent large plants from growing, leaving the earth completely exposed beneath an open and endless sky. The Columbia River Gorge opens as an ancient stone corridor stretching for dozens of miles, where basalt walls and high cascading water create a visually striking landscape. During heavy rain, the cliffs release hundreds of thin streams at once, turning the rock face into a curtain of white lines. Standing beneath waterfalls hundreds of feet high, the echo and cold mist create the feeling of entering a raw, untamed landscape untouched by time. Boulders Beach sits along the coast with granite blocks over 500 million years old, forming rounded structures spread across the shoreline. Massive stones stacked at unusual angles create a landscape resembling an ancient structural system that has resisted deformation for ages. Hundreds-ton boulders were smoothed over millions of years, producing rare curved granite surfaces uncommon along coastal environments. Some exposed blocks, measuring over 20 feet in diameter, demonstrate the long-term durability of granite under strong erosion. Wide corridors between the stones allow you to walk through 6 to 10-foot gaps where deep fractures reveal compressed geological layers. The combination of rounded geometry, irregular size, and high resistance makes Boulders Beach a striking example of slow but powerful crustal reshaping. Mont Saint-Michel appears as an ancient granite mass, nearly 260 feet high, created through long geological compression and showing strong natural durability. When the tide moves away, thin sand and silt layers rising a few inches each year create a reflective flat surface with very clear geological boundaries. The tide reaching almost 46 feet changes the landscape quickly because shallow water resonance accelerates water movement across the area. "3D laser scans show only 1/10 of an inch of seasonal shift, proving unusual stability under wind pressure and strong tidal force." Structures built from the 11th to the 16th century use stone locking compression arches and angled walls to direct weight into the dense granite base. A striking experience appears when the granite shifts from green-gray to silver-gray on humid days while the fast tide rises and falls around the site. Fanal forest creates a strong impression because its ancient laurel environment has survived for more than 20,000 years across major climate shifts. The twisted trunks shaped by ocean winds reaching nearly 60 miles per hour show long cycles of erosion and continuous adaptation. Its air humidity stays between 80 and 95%, forming a stable microclimate that extends each tree's lifespan beyond normal limits. Sound levels fall to only 20 to 25 decibels, making the forest so quiet that footsteps become clearly audible nearby. In 1999, the forest received World Heritage recognition for preserving an ancient ecosystem with exceptional long-term stability. Fanal Forest therefore holds value as a natural archive, helping people understand climatic history and the endurance of old-growth forests. El Peñón de Guatapé appears as an ancient granite and quartz block formed from deep magma while preserving clear geological traces through millions of years. A natural fracture separates the rock into two major sections, creating a strong, vertical groove visible clearly even from distant viewpoints. The monolith reaches nearly 650 feet in height, while much of its mass stays buried, proving it is the core remaining after long erosion. Climbing more than 700 steps for around 15 to 25 minutes turns the steep gradient into a direct test of endurance. The zigzag staircase follows the uneven opening of the crack, forming one of the rare built structures directly attached to a natural monolith. Laser measurements show the rock shifts only a few millimeters each year, giving the summit a stable yet exciting sense of standing on ancient ground. Brøndby Garden City was formed above mineral-rich Weichsel glacial till, which drains quickly and supports stable warm-season plant growth. Its common vegetation includes Nordic apples, plums, gooseberries, wild grapes, and 18 cold season flowers that shape clear visual changes through the year. The area follows a rule that limits continuous residence to 6 months each year to protect its seasonal garden purpose. Social studies show the circular layout increases community interaction by about 40% compared with high-rise apartment environments. From above, its concentric circles reveal a space organization rarely used in Northern European planning. With circular paths and wide green areas, Brøndby Garden City feels like a place where people stay close to nature while remaining connected to one another.